Hey, Tom here. Sorry about that. Had a rough start. Actually, got a new studio going and trying to get things dialed in. Let me know how the audio is. And also, if you can get into the Zoom link, get in the Zoom link. That's one of the things I'm kind of testing the bandwidth tonight. But hey, anything you got, real estate, we can talk about it. Again, in the description, you should see a link for getting into the Zoom. Oh, good. We got Greg in here. Cool. Greg's popping in, I believe. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Hey, I appreciate you coming. I'm having a little audiovisual trouble as usual, but I think I've got this dialed in. So those of you out on YouTube, yeah, please go to the link. You can see in the chat. You can go to the link. Where did you pick up the link, Greg? Can you tell me?
I got it in your YouTube page.
On
Right
the,
at the bottom, right underneath it says, right underneath your video, it says
oh,
six watching now, starting streaming less than 1 minute ago.
okay, perfect. So you guys, you can get it right there in the chat. Please join. Those of you that are new to watching me, I've made tens of millions of dollars in real estate as an investor. I've owned apartment buildings. I own a food park now. Hey, Liam, if you can jump in. Chris, YouTube. Chris, you probably got the kids. I've got quite a few people in my mentorship. I wrote a book a while back called, and I'll be brief, guys, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. That spurned a mentorship, and I've had hundreds of people now in there, and I've got more millionaires in the shortest time, more millionaires probably than anybody on YouTube that's mentoring. I really rarely see any credible, really even credible people that claim to be mentors. Most people that mentor actually don't even talk to their students. And I can tell you, I got students that are smarter than most of the YouTubers that I see out there. But I like a challenge. I like being tested, and I love tough questions. And I try to I share everything I can. I'm 60 years old, got 4 kids, and all of them are grown. I'm now an empty nester, and this is what I want my legacy to be: is help as many people as I possibly can make money. And I find there's a lot of people that just don't have the confidence, and they don't realize that they have the capacity. You'd be surprised. It's very disappointing to me when I talk to somebody, and I hear some great intelligence coming out of them. One, and this is kind of self-serving, the fact that they can identify me as being smarter and more original and more real than the other people that they've been looking at. A lot of you guys look at, I don't care if it's Chris Crone, Grant Cardone, something doesn't smell right. You can just smell it, right? And you're you're suspect, you're not sure, and but it's like intuition. Which, let me tell you about intuition. Intuition is an accumulation of knowledge that you've gathered over your lifetime, and it's like it's working in the back, but you can't exactly express it. Please join into the chat if you can. Jump into the Zoom. But Greg, I want to start talking to you, and bear with me here because I'm figuring out my screen. There we go. You're now also in the YouTube. You're still images. So, Greg, how long have you been listening to the channel, and what are your thoughts on fake gurus, on becoming a millionaire? Maybe you already are a millionaire. Anything you want to talk about, I don't care. But what I really like to talk about is it's very frustrating to me when I see somebody that is completely capable. They have everything going for them except confidence, and they should have confidence because they don't realize they're brighter than most people. And I'm not talking about education in the sense of school. I dropped out of high school, and I was a millionaire by the time most of the guys I knew got out of college, that went to college. But what do you think, Greg?
Well, I appreciate what you're saying a lot. I'm a relatively new listener. I also am the least educated person that I know. I did not complete high school. I owned a condo in Canada for 12 years, and then I sold it to buy land in Montana so I could build my dream property.
All right. Well, I
Uh,
didn't.
I kind of I kind of went all in on the land deal and learned residential construction for 15 months. So having worked in animation for 20 years, I'm looking to mix things up, broaden my horizons, and I kind of have a life philosophy I've developed of career, family, property, just so I could keep everything in its proper, quadrants, or not, that wouldn't be quad, that would be three, in their separate sections. And I'm curious to learn as much as I can about property.
Yeah, that's funny. When I was younger, I had a word, Mowaka. It was actually a friend of mine coined it, but it was kind of our priorities. And it was MOWOCA, and that stood for money, women, and cars. And so, and money is what would make all of it possible, it would seem. But, of course, I was younger then. Then, of course, it's family. Of course, now I got 4 kids grown. In fact, I'm going to be a grandpa, so I'm excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But so, I like that you're here. I like that you jumped in. And please, anybody else watching, please, look, we got 16 watchers, jump in the link and get in here. Like I was talking to a gentleman tonight, and actually just joined my mentorship. A couple of guys just joined my mentorship. And they feel like, different, totally different personalities, right? But one guy, he's he did okay. He's done pretty well. He's about my age, and and he feels like he's done okay. And he's by most standards, he's done good. He's done well, but he knows he can do so much more. And we get to talking, and he said, the more he hears me talk, he understands. And what I was trying to tell him, and maybe I had, my parents are divorced, like most people, and my dad had a girlfriend. And she was a waitress at one time. She wasn't at the time I talked. She was an older woman now. But she was saying that, she said, look, I used to work in the diners to get by when I was young. And I worked in the diners and cafes. And then I started working at the country club. She said it's the same shitty job, except the country club pays a lot better. And that's kind of what I was telling one of the gentlemen that sells cars. I said, listen, and even a bartender, I don't care if you're a bartender selling liquor at the counter, or if you're, I don't care what you're selling, or if you're, a car dealer, a car person, or buying and selling anything used, right? Because this is what I do. I buy property. Everything's used. Every bit of real estate in the world has been owned by somebody else before. Was there before you, and it's going to be there long after you, But it's the world is a magnificent place and it's the best business in the world, being an investor, because you have an inventory that is endless. It is constantly replacing. It's changing hands. And with real estate changing hands constantly is the opportunity to make the delta between what you pay for it and what it's worth to somebody else. And that's why it sounds extremely simple. And believe me, I know a ton of things, and I teach that in my mentorship, and that's why I have such a high success rate. But it's not like it's not like going and trying to be a doctor. You don't have to put 10 years. You don't have to know you don't have to know the anatomy of the body, the inside and out. And it's just so much easier than that, and it's much easier than working 40 hours a week, for somebody else for many years. So Greg, you sound like you did pretty good for yourself. You bought a property, and you're kind of you're pursuing the dream that you had put forth, and now you're taking a new route, right? You're trying to do something else.
Yes, that's correct. After owning property for 12 months that I rented out, let somebody else pay off my mortgage, I decided that I was not a fan of Justin Castro, and I decided to move my money out of Canada into the United States because, just not a fan of any of that socialist stuff. I see the United States as the best country in the world. And since I'm a citizen, I want to go all in here. And I'm interested to know more about the financing aspect of it. That's my angle. Where things are today with finance and with the inflation and borrowing rates. What your thoughts are there.
Listen, I'll just tell you right now, don't overthink it, and I'll tell you why. When I started in real estate in 1981, that's when I bought my first property, interest rates were coming down from 16%. Okay, I don't even know what the Fed rate was, but I just know that what it cost to borrow was 16%. I was 19. I didn't even try to borrow. I had no credit history. I had no credit record. I had no history of borrowing. I had no really history of much of employment, except for working 2 years in the cabinet shop. So I started my own cabinet shop when I was 19. I began a business, and then your name's really mud when you begin a business because you're like nothing. You're a hopeful. 9 out of 10 businesses fail in general, and when you're 19, you just don't have much going for you. You don't have an experience. Well, it was that starting that business that Is anybody trying to get in? Because I see people talking about the Passcode. But anyways, everybody should be able to get in. The link's in there. Anyways, back to what I was saying. It was renting a place for my cabinet shop and being so broke that I couldn't afford to live in an apartment or somewhere else, that I lived in my building. And the landlord found out I was living in the building where I was, creating cabinets. And he says to me, look, Tom, he goes, I'm afraid this place is going to catch on fire. You're going to burn up and die, and I'm going to get sued. And so he said, you can't stay here. This ain't going to work. And so I had to look for another place. Well, in the process of looking for another place, my previous employer, who I only worked for 18 months, who'd gone out of business, his building came up for sale. And I didn't even know it was for sale. I was looking for something for rent. An agent, I called up. I said, hey, I'm looking for a place to rent. He says, well, I got some places to look at. We drove around. And he said, well, how'd you like to buy this place? And I go, well, this one here? And he goes, yeah. I go, I used to work there. And he says, well, you could buy it. And I go, what do they want for it? And he said, 100, I think it was 110. It might have been 120. I don't know. 5,900 square foot building. I'm 19 years old. I've got hair down to my shoulders. My eyes are bloodshot. I look like what we called a stoner back then. I looked like I was high, even though I wasn't high. It was because I had terrible allergies, and the sawdust affected my eyes even worse. Anyways, with that happening, he said, well, I go, how do I buy it? He says, well, look, they'll owner finance it. And this is in the toughest of time. Interest rates were, if you own or carried a property back then, you could get 10 or 12%. And I said, okay. And I said, well, look at me. I said, I don't have any credit. He goes, they're never going to see it, Tom. They're never going to see it. And so we made an offer. And even though I didn't have any money to put down at all, I figured out that if I could get access to the property for 6 months and not pay rent, I could save the $10,000 in that 6 months. So the offer that I made was owner carried. I said, but I wanted 6 months escrow and 6 months access to the property prior to close. And so they agreed to it because it was tough times. I mean, it was a really bad time in the country. Like I said, everything was not doing well. And
so did you just get 6 months of rent for free from that deal?
Yeah. Here's how I did it. And that's
brilliant.
Well, this is how it worked. This is how I phrased it, and this is some of the stuff you'll learn from me in the class. But what I did is I said, I raised the concern over the place being vandalized because it was empty, and I had shown that. I think I pointed out that somebody looked like had tried to break in at one edge of the building, where the door was. There was new graffiti on the building. And so I said, I'd like 6 month escrow and to the ability to, I had a $500 non-refundable deposit, but I wanted to occupy and fix up the building during this 6 months, but to keep it from being, vandalized any further in graffiti, which that sounded like music to their ears. There was 5 partners on that property, by the way, and they were like, just anything, fine, great. And so I got the deal, and right after I bought it, 6 months comes up, I put my $10,000 down that I had saved from not having to pay anybody anything during that time. And hey, Adam, glad to have you here, buddy. And so from there, I bought the place, and right after that, a guy pulled up. I was pulling the for sale sign out of the front of the building, getting ready to put my own name on the building. My name of my business was Tom's Custom Cabinets. And this guy says, hey, what do they want for the property? I said, well, I just bought it. He goes, Willie, what'd you pay for it? And I told him, 110. He said, I'll give you $20,000 more right now. And I was like, wow. wow, it just threw me into shock that I could make $20,000 basically in a day because I had just closed it. And that set off a light bulb in my head right away at 19. But now I was already dead set on creating a business, and that's what I planned on doing, was building a business. And but it made me feel good. I thought, oh, I got $20,000 equity right off the bat, And then, business was bad. It was tough. I was starting a company, and I was behind. I was a month behind on my payment. Almost immediately, I fell behind. And here's the other thing. Nobody ever knew it because it was owner carried. So even though I didn't have any credit, I really wasn't damaging my credit because, they were just glad. They didn't care if the payment was a month late. Yeah, they were just glad that it came. They go, oh, no, he's going to pay it. It's always a month late. You know what I mean? And then 4 or 5 years later, when all of a sudden I was making money, not from the cabinet shop, but I had been wheeling and dealing, and it's in my book. If you have my book, you'll read about this stuff. I was so turned on by the real estate aspect of it and making money in real estate. From this guy offering me 20 grand more than what I just paid for it, that I just pursued real estate. And I can show you, I could even jump on the internet right here, and I can show you the building that I bought, and I can show you 10 properties around me that I either bought or what you guys would call wholesale. I just call it an assignment. I assign them to, which I'm not a big wholesale fan, believe me. You can make a fortune by just doing quality transactions. Ben Mallah is worth, a couple $100 million or something like that, and he's done less than 200 transactions, okay? I've done just under 200 transactions too, but I've been doing it 40 years. That still comes out to about 4 or 5 transactions a year. And, and we're both extremely, very wealthy people. And the reason for that is because we understand one simple thing: buying the property right, getting in between the buyer, what somebody has and what somebody wants. You get in between those two people, and that's where the money is. And so, anyways, so Greg, you're doing the right thing. Hey, real quick, I have 2 of my students in here. If you guys, I know some of you guys got kids getting ready to go to bed. If Chris or Liam, if you got something urgent, otherwise I'm going to let Adam ask a quick question, if you don't mind. Adam, what's up? You got a question, or what's on your mind? Anything to add?
No, sir. I've watched you on YouTube. I've watched a lot of your videos, and you're a big inspiration. I am currently trying to get into real estate. My credit score is low. I've got a couple of secured credit cards, trying to raise it up, paying off my debts, and I love your stuff, man.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I do. And listen, so look, Adam is typical of a lot of guys. Look, my credit, I didn't have any credit when I started. I was 19 years old. And then when you become self-employed, that's even worse, because now you're destined to failure. 9 out of 10 chance you're going to fail. And so like someone like Adam, is just exactly how I was in the beginning. I couldn't have qualified for the loan that somebody did on the owner carry, so I got that. That was a given. The agent that was helped me put this deal together, he just wanted to get his commission, and the 10 grand covered that. He was going to get 6%, so most of that 10 grand went to him in the form of a commission. And after that, I started finding other properties. And it's about knowing value more than anything. Like Adam, I'm not sure what you do for a living, but let's just say, if you buy cars, or let's just say whatever, you have an interest. It's so vast. Like I have had a machine shop in the past, so I know what a table saw is worth because I have a cabinet shop. I know what a planer's worth of different models. Planer, planes, wood. There's money there. In other words, if I'm looking for a planer, when I'm going to go buy one for my shop, I'm going to look and I'm going to try to find the best deal I can. I'm going to look at what it is new. I'm going to see how much they are used. And then when I figure out, a pretty good used planer, let's just say it's $2,000. Well, and then I find several for sale for $2,000, and I'm finding that, if I get there and some of them are already sold, and then all of a sudden I find a planer that I can buy for $1,000, I know that, shit, this is a great deal, so I buy it. In fact, if I find two planers for $1,000, I'll buy both of them. I'll keep one and I'll sell the other. And this is how simple it is with real estate. You know value. It's just like I'm looking for a planer or I'm looking for a saw to buy. I'm determining what the best price is for something used. That's how it is with land. That's how it is with houses. 3-bedroom house, 2-bedroom house, land, an acre, 100 acres, doesn't matter. You're looking for that product. And then when you determine what the value is, it's like even looking for a car. If you're looking for a car to buy and you're buying a used car, you're going to figure out what a comparable year and model with so many miles is worth. And you will know what the value is of a car based on the year and miles. Well, when you see a deal, you'll know a deal. Well, why stop there? Keep looking for that same car. Just keep looking for that same car. And then you'll know a deal. Every time you know a deal's a deal, buy it and resell it for more. The difference of what you know it's worth and what you can get it for. Anyways, that just is a very simple way to explain it, but it's true. And people are intimidated about real estate. They think it's difficult to buy a piece of real estate. It ain't any harder than buying a car. Listen, when you buy a car, there's a title, there's a beneficiary, there's insurance. You got to keep your car insured. If you owe the bank money, it's the same process. But instead of the Department of Motor Vehicles, it's a title company. So I just want to erase those fears too. But hey, Chris, what do you got to say? What's up? And Chris has actually done really well. He's a success story himself. Chris worked for his church, and he got into the program, and he started really getting into real estate. And since he's been in the mentorship, he quit his job, and he volunteers at the church for what he used to get paid to do, in large part, and now he's a full-time investor. In fact, he just bought a piece of land for $100,000. You think you're going to sell it for double that, right?
Yeah. I'm actually Tuesday. I'm going to check on that property. Everything should be in the dumpster, ready to be hauled off. And that one's going to go for at least double. I might have to wait a month or two, maybe, but I don't think so.
Right.
I think
you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could go quick, and it's like one of those things. Like I've learned to don't be greedy. Like there's going to be another deal around the corner. So go ahead and take the money. And
yeah, that's a key point. Yeah. And so like he said, don't be greedy. And so listen, there's and everybody knows that's in my class knows the name Henry Booker or Hank Booker. He is somebody that said to me a long time ago, he said, "Hey, Tommy," he goes, "you can never get hurt taking a profit." And that's the truth. But you can really get hurt holding out for more money, right. Especially in a downturn.
But everything I've learned, I mean, hey, look, I've got the book right here. So
there you go.
everything I've learned.
Hey, by the way, I love it when people send me a picture of their book. I've gotten a couple pictures just this week of people holding their book. I love it. I don't give it's just in your hand, but thanks, Chris. Yeah.
But I've got other real estate books here too, and sure, if you read enough, you're going to learn a little bit of everything. But I'm not joking when I say, like, if you follow the steps in the book, it's really that easy.
And what do you think of the mentorship, Chris?
Mentorship's great because of course I learned from Tom, but whenever I hear Liam start talking about something, I'm like, oh, that's a really good point, Liam. No. Or if I hear Ron talk about something, I was like, oh, that's something I should watch out for. And so it's really cool because we're all on our own journey.
Yeah, you never stop learning. Yeah, you never stop learning too. Look, I've been doing this for a long time, and I opened a food park, a trailer food park, whatever you want to call it. It's been a very successful thing. And I could have opened it 15 years ago, but I only opened it 4 years ago. I'm kicking myself for not opening it, 10 years earlier. And I left a lot of money on the table, but it's evolving, and it just continuously. By the way, Liam, you've been here sitting a while. You want to chime in? Liam is also a success story, by the way. He got into the class and extremely excited and kind of impatient, and he still he banged it out. He made $350,000 on his last deal, and he made about 200 grand on one previous. And so when he rolled into buying something else, he rolled his 200,000 into a bigger investment that yielded him another 350. And but anyway, Liam's, like Chris, has been fantastically good.
Yeah, I'm out here now, Tom. I'm just listening, tired. I was just thinking before I got the notification that it was on. I went back to work, and now I'm like so busy with a fucking job. It's like I don't even have time to look for deals right now. And
I know. No, I get it. And listen, I love Liam. Liam's a carpenter just like me, and let me tell you, both of these guys are the hard-working guys, and it's just amazing because I think I can say this for both of these guys. They both have seen more cash in their hands from real estate than they've ever been able to save on their own from a job, right? Easily.
No, that's for sure. I was just saying to myself, like I'm getting too busy with this with the job again. Plus, I bought a house for my daughter. I think I told you that.
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way. I'm also going to be a grandpa, by the way.
I heard that. That's fantastic news. I'm waiting on that myself.
Nice.
My daughter's she's 29 now, and they bought a house, but pretty much we had to gut it down. And I said to my wife, I said, I thought I was getting easy. I gave them the down payment and boom and wait, but this is not happening. I gotta be there I gotta end up fucking putting the whole house together. I bet you I worked 75 hours this week. All right. And you got to put another 20 hours on top of that for the commute. So it's like, I'm looking for houses, and
it's a time to be cautious and be careful, as we all know.
I'm being very cautious because I'm seeing, I'm not really seeing things really turning, but where I am, but I'm seeing things are sitting. Things are sitting a long time on the market. They're sitting a long time. I also have that. I got that. The one I just heard back from the state. I'm anticipating getting approval to build. I figure maybe in another month or so. So I'm thinking maybe I hold on to the money that I have and just when I do get the approval to build, I'll probably put it on the market. Give it a couple of weeks. If someone doesn't come by and buy it, I'll end up building myself, and then.
Well, and this is good. And so those of you that are watching, so look, Liam and Chris are both in the class, and this isn't even planned. I just did this kind of off the cuff. I'm testing the equipment here to see how well I can do a Zoom and a feed like this at the same time. And so far, it's working pretty darn good. But to Liam, what Liam just said, two things I want to bring up. I just sold my daughter a home, her first home. I put her through college, and in the 2 years that she's been out, she got a pretty good job. She saved $100 grand. Of course, she got to live at home, and I charge her rent, but her rent of $400 a month includes her car insurance and her cell phone, got some other things. But anyways, she just bought a home. And I can afford to give her a home for half of what I can afford to give her a home for what I paid for it. I gave her about a $420,000 home for $220,000, and that's the thing. Liam helped his daughter into a home too, from what I gather, and that's the thing that you can do. These are the things that the wealth that generates from real estate. In fact, likewise, Chris helped some very good friends of his get the home of their dreams because he wanted them as neighbors, and he helped that happen. And as well, he helped put his own in-laws, his mother and father-in-laws, which they must be really good ones, I guess. But he put them in. He's on the spot now. No, I'm kidding. I know, but he put him in down the street from him, so he's got a babysitter. It's not all, it's not all, it doesn't all have to be monetary reward.
No, Tom, and if I could on that note, it's just man, to your point, it's not all about money, but the fact that we can have two gates in our backyard that open up, one to my in-laws, the grandparents, and one to our best friends next door that have kids. Like,
that's a beautiful thing.
How in the world could you do that in the real world with the MLS, and that's all you have access to?
Yeah.
Like I used exactly what you talk about.
I know.
To make that happen.
Yeah. No, it's like I say, it's very frustrating because believe me, there's a lot of young people like Chris and younger and other people. Even Liam, he's younger than me, but he's been around. And when it's like you don't know what you don't know in the beginning. And so I see people fleecing people that are in the age groups of Chris and others, and because these people don't know what I know, and but I think a lot of when you listen to certain people that something doesn't smell right. Like again, you gotta. It sounds like this doesn't really add up. And then a lot of times, and you guys know I do videos. I kind of tear up some of the people that I consider fake gurus, and then it starts to, oh yeah, that was the stench that I smelled. That now I understand why it doesn't, why that didn't feel right. And likewise, look, I'm an accessible guy, right? Look here, I'm talking to you. I'll take any question you have on real estate. These guys that claim to have, this kind of expertise, Grant Cardone, he couldn't answer the questions that Chris and Liam can answer, and just some of the stuff that they've learned in just the last couple of years. They don't. I'm telling you, there's some of these guys are just professionals at selling garbage, and and it's you can check it out for yourself. But let me tell you, it's a horrible thing when somebody writes me and they're telling me that they just gave $5,000 to somebody that claimed to be more helpful and more knowledgeable than they really are, it's just getting parted with your seed capital when you're young. $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 to some people is nothing. It's like, oh damn it, that sucks. But for somebody young, it's like that sets them back years. And I just don't want to see that happen to anybody. And I've already seen it happen to a lot of people, and it's been through garbage on YouTube. So,
well, and on the flip side of that, Tom, when you make a deal, I think I'm trying to think, I think my first deal that I made, I think I netted 30 grand, which was like, to me, like having a paycheck come to me for 30 grand. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Well, yeah. And all you got to do is think about how many of your paychecks would it take to equal 30 grand after taxes, right?
Right. But then you start thinking like where I'm at right now, it's like, okay, I know I could go out and buy a house right now with cash.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to being able to buy maybe 2 houses with cash. But when you get your capital to a point where it's like, oh wait, I could actually like do 2 at a time.
Yeah.
Or I could do 3 at a time if I wanted to. Like when you have that kind of capital, and so you're advancing time. You're able to work faster than the typical what money would take in typical world, if that makes sense.
No, you just have a lot more options. People fail to look at money as a tool, unfortunately. And, even people should realize, even if you don't have a lot of cash, if you have access to capital, if you have a decent job, and this kind of goes to Greg a little bit, we were talking about, if you've got a good credit record, and a history of paying things on time and that sort of thing, you get pre-qualified for a line of credit, or get pre-qualified to buy an asset, and now it's just a matter of whether or not the asset qualifies for the loan. You already do. That's cash. You can honestly tell somebody you'll pay them cash because the bank has already told you in advance that you qualify for X amount of money to be loaned to you. So, the cash is a huge thing. There's a chapter in here. I think it's chapter 24. It's called Leapfrogging, and I talk about it a lot right now because it has a dual meaning. One is get rid of your, when things are declining like they are now. Jump out. If you intend to sell that asset in the next year, get rid of it right now before it becomes worth less. And don't sell it for what the value is today. Jump to what it's going to be worth in 2 months from now, less than what it is today, because you're in a declining market. So you leapfrog and you're jumping ahead of everybody that's in denial about the values going down, and you get your property sold. And by the time your deal closes, they're realizing, oh crap, I got to lower another 20 grand. The money you made, they're going to have to leapfrog from there to beat everybody else and go even further down than you did. And likewise, it's the same thing. I have a car dealer that just joined the mentorship today, and he was telling me how that struck home with him, because he said we do it in auctions all the time. He says when I buy cars, or when we get rid of bad inventory, or we get rid of inventory, we see problems coming, and they're related directly. When you see the interest rate going up, guess what? It's going up on cars too. So anyways, I would I appreciate you guys coming in, and I just wanted to have I wanted to make sure the Zoom equipment worked, and but those of you guys that are watching are first time being here, like I said, we got a fantastic group of people in the mentorship, and Chris and Liam are actually in that mentorship. And by the way, Greg, welcome to the USA. You should be in this class, because you don't have a lot of the bullshit here in the USA that you have in Canada that gets in the way of making money. And I do have students actually in my class that are in Canada, but they have some frustrations with the processes that go on there.
Dear Lord, the Canadian government finds a way to get in the way of every dollar. Yeah. They truly do.
Yeah, well, believe me, we're
catching
up
and
fast
nothing
with
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's listen, your only hedge against a poorly run government is to make money. That's it. You can complain about the taxes you pay. That's a whole lot better than complaining about your welfare check not being big enough. And
I know about complaining about taxes. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's a wonderful thing. That's a rich people problem, So
yeah, I know, but it's still, I know. I'm gonna. I got a major fucking burden coming up this, I'm waiting. I got some more paperwork. I want to do my taxes immediately. Get them over with,
Yeah, well, pay your taxes first. I'll tell you, I that's one thing. Even being self-employed with when I had a business, cabinet shop and stuff like that, the priority was always pay the taxes. Payroll taxes. Don't ever consider that a slush fund if you're self-employed out there. I remember a guy, and this is like 30, 40 years ago, in my CPA's office. He got $50,000 behind on his payroll taxes, and so he was having to pay such an extremely usurious amount from the government. They just penalize the shit out of you at the highest rate, and he was doing his best, paying $5,000 a month. And when he got to the end of the year, he still owed just about the same, $50,000. It barely kept up with the penalties that they were sticking him with. So, again, and by the way, there's a lot of benefits in real estate that are beneficial when it comes to taxes. You've got the write-offs, you've got the ability to defer gains, and if you do, take a hit on something, if you actually do happen to lose on something, if you're an active investor, if you happen to make a little mistake and you lose some money on something, you won't lose as much, because you'll be able to take that entire loss in whole against a gain of equal or greater amount. Where if you're like, it's a terrible thing, but if you're one time, if you're like an inexperienced person, and that's why it's so important you get skills and learn about real estate, is if you do make a mistake and you do lose your ass, and let's just say you lose $30,000, and now you're like, oh, I ain't never buying real estate again. Well, guess what? I think you only get it, and you have, well, I can say this relatively certain, but you only get to take that capital loss against your regular income at a rate of $3,000 per year. So you will spend, it'll take you 10 years to take advantage of that loss. But if you're an investor and you lost 10 grand on a piece of property, or 30 grand or whatever it was, you would take it all off. In other words, one would wash the other immediately. So, but it's a terrible thing, because I have seen people go out and make, $100,000 loss mistakes that just basically had a job, and now they're jaded on real estate, and it's going to take them 33 years to get the benefit of that loss.
Yeah, that's if you make, ordinary income.
Yeah, against ordinary income. You have to be an investor in order to take care of, capital gains capital losses get washed with capital gains, bottom line. But
listen, capital gains tax gets a bad rap, because it's actually, when you look at it, those are the best taxes that you want to pay, because they're taxed the lowest rates, and there's also you only have to pay them if you're making real profit. If you can go up to like $86,000 and not pay anything, and I
don't know how you do that, but I get taxed on every penny. But you're right, in as much as it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. And here's the other thing: beats that all to hell too, is passive income, which is rental income. Rental income's a much lower tax rate too. So, but
then they got the what's the other? I can't think of it. What's it? Devaluation? What do they call that?
Yeah.
On the price, I can't even think of it. I'm tired right now. But depreciation. You got depreciation.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Just got to be careful, because they want to recapture that down the road.
Right.
If you sell.
Very good.
Either way, I'm over here. I know one guy was complaining about Canada, but I'm telling you, Jersey's where I am. They are the worst. The highest rates.
Yeah. So we have people in New Jersey. They call it New Jersey-stan. And we know who we're talking about, right, Liam? Anyways.
Yeah, I know. I just talked to him. I talk to him like every couple of days. I talk to Amos.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The mentorship, and if you saw the thumbnail, you see a pretty group. So we'll have up to 45 people in the class sometimes, and not everybody can even be there on a Saturday, but they go back and they watch the recorded meeting, because there's so much to be learned in every mentorship meeting that we have. We go over real deals that are happening, and we hear people, oh, I'm about to do this. In fact, you guys know Herb. I'm interviewing Herb tomorrow, so we'll have a new video on another success story about Herb. But anyways,
that's a real benefit of the meetings too. It's all the guys there. And we're all doing different things, and we're all everybody has action, and you hear about what they're doing and situations that come up, and then you say they do it, and then somebody will come in and say, yeah, I did that, and
it's inspirational, right? It's inspirational.
It is good. You see the guys make money, and here I am,
you're one of them.
No,
you're one of them.
I got no patience. I want everything right away, but I always looking back, my fast decisions a lot, they're costly decisions, but
I know. I remember trying to slow you down in the beginning, Liam. After the third week, and it was a 1 month crash course. I'm like, he's like, man, I get it, I got it. I'm going, and to your credit, look, you've made more than $500,000, but and like I say, and you making money like that has been motivational to so many people. And the fact that you're like me, you're just a regular guy, you're a carpenter, and we've seen the power, and same with Chris and Ken Bucho, and God, I could keep naming every guy. There's so many people. I could lose track myself, But and we got some women in there too that have done very well, and it's just you know, I just went. What really the point of this video tonight, besides tuning up my equipment here, is to just to tell people, look, you got to be. There's no reason not to be confident in yourself. You may have had somebody that was a browbeater in your family. Believe me, if I was raised by my grandfather, I mean, I can tell you, he was the most negative man I've ever met. Everything was a bad idea. I mean, nothing worked as far as he was concerned. And he was bitter for several reasons, you know. Just even, you know, he used to pack trains with ice, and then air conditioning came along, and that put him out of business. And, you know, there's other things. But, you know, you can do it. Don't think for a second you can't do it. People that haven't been through college, people that, you know, don't have particularly skilled, you know, grammatically or mathematically, you know, and I'm, you know, like I said, I dropped out of high school early, and but, you know, common sense is like the number one thing, and that's why I say it's such a shame when I'm talking to somebody on the phone. And actually, I had one of my students talk to a guy today because I said, you got to talk to this guy. This guy's sharp as a tack, and he doesn't even realize it. And so Eric from the class, which Eric is somebody who's made more than $1 million. If you go to FlipAnythingUSA.com, check it out. Check out the video on Eric. Maybe I haven't released that one yet, but he's somebody that's kicked it out of the ballpark. I'm telling you.
How's he doing with his? He's got legal entanglements now, right?
Well, I don't want to talk about it here, but no, he's doing fine. No, he's got his stuff resolved quite well. In fact, he just got a check for $707,000, and it was all profit. Made $700,000. Or maybe he made $800,000. Anyhow, he made either $700,000 or $800,000. I mean, on one deal. He also bought another property. Yeah, it's crazy. And then Rich made $800,000 on one deal, and that was after making $350,000. So he's 34 years old with $150,000 a year income now, and you know. And so it doesn't matter if you make 10 grand or you make $1 million. It's going the right direction, and everybody feeds off the success of each other. And believe me, I mean, the students are doing so well that even I'm starting to go, and I'm like, you know, it gets me like I got to get in gear here, you know. So it really is motivating, and it is very rewarding. And, you know, I'm in jiu-jitsu, and I tell you, I love the camaraderie in jiu-jitsu. We all, you know, are, I've been in for 7 years. I'm a purple belt now, and I wouldn't be as good as I am without the help of other people that are much better than I. And it's a fantastic thing because everybody's always there to help and teach each other to be better. We're not competing with each other. We're just trying to get better, and that's how it is in the class, the Flip Anything class. Everybody's on the same side. We're just in different states and cities, all doing the same thing. And Greg, you'd be a fine candidate to jump in as well, by the way. So you should fill out the mentorship survey. And anybody watching, by the way, you should. And I don't just let anybody in the class, by the way. Common sense is very important, and. But anyways, I am going to punch the Flip Anything wrap here for the people that are new to watching, and then we'll wrap up. So give me 26 seconds.
Yo, stop and listen. Time is on a mission to eliminate all the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an empire, starting with nothing but a desire. All you really need is a good mentor, not a used car bullshit. With time, you'll learn to crush it. Investing like Warren Buffett. With real estate, you cannot procrastinate. Everyone who hesitates is left at the starting gate. Hey, yo, so don't delay and join today. The mentorship and Flip Anything USA. Go.
All right. Well, hey, Liam, I appreciate you popping in while you did, buddy. I know you're tired. Thanks for coming out. And Chris and Greg, you as well. And we're going to try to do more of these. In fact, we're going to try to do one, I think here, we'll announce it here soon, but probably look for maybe a Tuesday night or something like that, or maybe a Wednesday night around 7 o'clock Central Time. and of course this was spur of the moment, but we're going to check the audio and the video and make sure everything worked quite well tonight. And we'll do more of these, and they'll be more populated than this, of course. But those of you that popped in, thanks for checking it out on short notice. And I guess that's it. Thanks, Greg. Thanks,
Cheers.
Chris.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank
See
you.
ya.
Yep. We'll see y'all later.